It's almost like the consumer in this point of view is set up to fail with taking care of this shirt long term. These letters can come off so easily. They don't really care about the durability long term. All right, what do you have for me this week?
Check this out.
Abercrombie Fitch. Okay, this was a community request. This is their heavyweight polished tee. This piece used to be a medium, made in Vietnam. There's a raised print here. So this actually seems to be very loose knit. So when you're manufacturing clothing, it really comes down to the component cost. What is the raw material cost? Like the fabric, the ribbing, the trims, and then what does it cost to sew and make? The sew and make is pretty much gonna be relatively fixed, but depending on how many units you're gonna be making and the region that you're going to be making it in. So where a lot of brands try to get a lot of cost savings, or where a lot of factories try to get cost savings, is by getting loose knit fabric and not pre-shrinking it. So what do I mean by that? If you're a brand and you're trying to approach a factory and you're saying, I want this t-shirt for $7, they will make it for $7, but you have to ask them, what are you doing to actually get it down to that price? Margin doesn't miraculously appear out of nowhere. Oftentimes, they're gonna be using cheaper components, cheaper trims. In this case, they're gonna get you a fabric that might meet your GSM requirement, your grams per square meter requirement, but it's not gonna be pre-shrunk. It's gonna be what's considered loose knit. So if I were to show this here, you can see right through this shirt, and what that means, and you can actually feel it too, it's very springy. It means that when they're actually knitting this shirt, the yarns aren't really butt up nice and tightly to each other. So when you are going to actually wash this is gonna shrink right up, and it's gonna probably 10% on the length and maybe 10% on the width as well. And you can also see here too, with this rib being so slinky, this is not a nice pre-shrunk rib. So one thing you have to keep in mind as a consumer buying the shirt is gonna shrink up. It's probably not gonna be very durable in the long term. I think when you look at a brand like Abercrombie Fitch and their target demo, it's gonna be younger people, all late teens, early 20s. Most consumers at that age are not washing their own stuff, or they don't know how to wash their clothing or take care of them. So a lot of times they'll blame themselves on destroying a shirt, but in something like this, when something's so loose knit, and especially with this kind of branding, this branding's gonna come right off. It's almost like the consumer in this point of view is set up to fail with taking care of this shirt long term. It's not going to last. So in terms of even how this shirt drapes and wears on you, if you fit this in the store, after that first wash, after it's been thrown in the dryer, it's not gonna fit the same way. And I think that's, again, setting up consumers to fail, which unfortunately, when it comes to a lot of retail brands, that's the practice, because they want this to present really well in store. They want this to convert really well in store. They don't really care about the durability in long term. This retails for $40 US, $50 Canadian. This is not something that's going to last a long time. From a brand's perspective, if you are producing something like this with a factory, always specify that you want your garment to be pre-shrunk before going to bulk. Yes, it is going to cost more as a brand because you're gonna have to use more fabric. So when it comes to fashion, a lot of times it's very slim margins. Some factories are working on a 10% margin. So if you're not checking this fabric, if you don't actually do wash testing, it might actually shrink up on you and you end up with a bulk production that is way out of tolerance from what you thought. Your customer's all pissed off and the design is ultimately not what you wanted. Even though you spent months on trying to perfect your perfect cut for your audience, it can all be ruined by not actually paying attention to how the fabric is in bulk production. So make sure, again, it's all pre-shrunk. What you can do and what we do here is we just cut a square of the fabric, usually 1 foot by 1 foot, and you just throw that in the washer and dryer, see how much it shrinks, compare it, and that's gonna be your shrinkage on the fabric. Same thing with this rib. This rib here, it's not, first of all, there's quite a color variation between here and here. So they could have definitely done a lot better in terms of color matching. But this rib being so slinky, this is gonna shrink up so much and you're gonna end up with a lot of these waves in the neck and collar and it's not gonna sit well. So again, as a brand, make sure you're paying attention to those details. And as a consumer, pay attention when you're buying something like this. If it does feel very loose like this, if it's supposed to be a heavy weight and you can see right through it, it's gonna be loose knit. Maybe avoid that. So Let's look at this branding element here. Right now, I think a lot of people are very interested in puff branding, raised branding, because it brings a lot of three-dimensional visual interest. But you'll see this. There's two ways to go about this. They can either have molds that they fill in with a print, and then they put a glue, and then it's transferred, and it's actually molded. Or a secondary method is, it's basically screened on in layers. So a thin layer is applied, it dries, and then they keep applying it. And they'll do this over thousands or hundreds of garments. The problem with this, and as a brand, if you are designing a raised branding element like this, you need to avoid small objects in your branding, small objects in your design elements. Because you'll see here, if I go even like a little bit, you'll see here, there you go. These letters, just purely because of how little these letters are, there's just not a lot of surface area for the branding to be glued. And I'm like really not even trying here, but all these letters can come off so easily. And that's purely just based off of surface area. So if you're gonna do a raised branding like this, always make sure that one, how it is applied is really effective. Just based off of this, I'm pretty sure this is a screen and multiple screens. Always make sure that one, it has a large enough surface area so it can actually have enough effective gluing area to bond to the fabric. And also keep in mind too, because the shirt is loose knit, when the canvas essentially shrinks and tightens up, all these letters are all gonna end up even more messed up because the fabric itself wants to shrink, but the top elements won't. So you're gonna have even worse bonding. And I can almost guarantee you, these letters will fall off after probably like the 5th wash. So keep that in mind. Again, not the greatest branding elements here. It's so bad. It's actually like really bad. Let's see if we make a new slogan here. You know what this is actually like? What's gonna happen is letters are gonna fall off, and I might be dating myself here, but it's gonna end up being like those Pontiacs that you drive behind that says Pontac because the lights are out. Where we're gonna end up here is, I don't know if this is really Abercrombie and Fitch, but more like Crumbie and Fitch. So other than branding and the fabric, let's take a look at the rest. Obviously we have a heat transfer here on the neck label. We have the label here with the Swift tag. Let's take a look on the inside. I would say in terms of actually the workmanship on the garment, the workmanship is not bad by any means. The neck tape obviously could have been extended, but when I see a garment like this, what I see is a brand saying, we need to make this because it's trendy. Consumers want heavier weight fabric. Like this is like $350 for this shirt that I'm wearing, but consumers want a heavier weight garment. We need to sell it at a specific price point for our target demo. How do we get it done? And in terms of workmanship, again, the workmanship's not bad by any means, but where they had their cost savings is that, like the neck tape, they could have at least extended it to here, but they put the neck tape only to the part where you can see it through the neck binding. So when this is hanging on a shelf, you're gonna see the neck tape, but you're not gonna see any more than what they need to show you in the store to convert the sale. They're going to be cheaping out on the branding element here. They're gonna be cheaping out on the fabric. And that's how they're able to get this done. Again, I'm pretty sure Abercrombie Fitch is publicly traded. I just pulled up their stock ticker right now, and you know, Abercrombie Fitch is a publicly traded company, and their stock is on an absolute tear from a low of $14 in 2023 to $178. So when you look at stock movements like that, a company's not getting there by putting the design and product first. They're getting there by maximizing profit margin. So they see a consumer demand. The demand is heavyweight, boxy fit shirts. They're meeting that demand at the cheapest cost that they can do it for. And that's how they're maximizing their margin, maximizing their profit, maximizing shareholder value and stock price. That gives you a little bit insight, at least on the business side, of why brands like this are pushing products that are on trend, but in the reality of the situation, the product doesn't meet what they should be putting out. All right, so now I'm gonna cut it up. I'm gonna show you all the panel pieces you need to make this shirt, and I'm gonna tell you what I think this costs to make. But before we do, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. We've been having some great growth on this channel, and I can't wait to show you guys what we have next. So let's dive into the cutting. First, I'm gonna start at the side seam. We just have standard overlock stitches here with a 2 needle cover stitch on the sleeves and bottom hem. We have our care labels here. Back panel. That is it. All right, so here's all the components you need to make this heavyweight, I don't even know, polished tee from Abercrombie Fitch. We have the front panel here with the raised rubber print. We have the 2 sleeve panels as well as the back panel and 1-inch neck ribbing plus the nice 6 inches of neck tape that we're able to provide. Let me get the GSM cutter, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell you what I think this costs to make, as well as my final thoughts on this. All right, it's $280 GSM. So now that we have it cut up, we know the GSM, let's recap. This Abercrombie Fitch heavyweight polished tee retails for $40 US, 50 Canadian, it's 280 GSM. It is made in Vietnam. Vietnam is gonna be a choice for brands because there's gonna be no tariffs when you're actually importing it from Vietnam. If you make this in China, you're gonna have 7.5% tariffs. So especially at the volume Abercrombie Fitch is doing, and the fact that they're publicly traded, they're going to be very hypersensitive to the regions that they're manufacturing to maximize profit. Again, this is not going to be something that's going to last a long time. I would say to make this in Vietnam, it'd probably be around $5 to $6. It really is nothing special. It's checking the boxes of being a heavyweight shirt and having a more boxy fit. As a consumer, would I buy this myself? Definitely not. Just looking at that, I know this is not going to last. And I'm better off spending my money on something from another brand that is going to last, and it's something that I can have as a staple in my closet that I can always grab. What's going to happen here is this shirt's going to shrink. It's never going to fit the same as when you first put it on in the store, and you're just not going to end up wearing it because these letters are going to come off. And that is the planned obsolescence cycle of this. What planned obsolescence is designing a product that is designed to not last. So it forces consumers to buy more product. You are going to always remember how great this fit in store. You remember that first time you went out with it, and you're going to want that feeling again. So you're going to buy a new one. And that's purely what's going to happen here. Because the shirt's not going to last, it's going to drive more sales, thus increasing more profit, thus driving that stock price up. And you know, that's just the dark side of fashion business. It's a lot of creating product, but also driving consumer psychology to purchase more. As a brand, would I take design notes off this? Probably not. I think that they're definitely responding to consumer trends in terms of having that boxy fit and having a heavyweight shirt. But in terms of the execution, don't take notes from this brand. If you are going to be using raised rubber again, make sure you have a large enough surface area so that your letters can stick on and it won't peel off instantly. And invest in creating a better product, because having only enough neck tape to show when it's hanging on a hanger is really just doing the bare minimum to get the sale. But that's it for this Abercrombie & Fitch shirt. Let us know in the comments what other products you want to see, and let us know if you've had any experience with this shirt. I'm Joe, and that's it. If you guys want to see more behind the scenes secrets on the fashion industry and learn more about how to create products and brands, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and check out these videos.